Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today's project, this cool little catch-all tray, is a collaboration between me and a new friend of mine. I prepare all the wood, then I send it off to him to do all the carving with the CNC machine. For quite some time now, I've thought that I needed to add a CNC machine to my woodworking arsenal. I'm the type of person that has to do an excessively thorough amount of research before I'm able to hit that little add to cart button. During my quest to educate myself, I happened upon a guy by the name of Anthony on Instagram. His feed was full of awesome stuff that ranged everywhere from elegantly simple to surprisingly complex. I had to reach out to him to learn more about his setup, and he gave me a lot to think about. In the process, he asked me if I would send him my logo so that he could practice doing an inlay in a small tray and send it back to me. I thought that was awfully nice of him, so I figured the least I could do would be to provide him with the wood to make the project out of. I started with a piece of figured maple with some spalting from my pile of lumber, and after flattening and squaring up a piece of it, I figured out roughly where I wanted the tray to come from in order to show off the most character in the grain. So I've got the board plain flat and cut roughly to size, but it's not to its final dimensions yet because I'm going to keep toying with the positioning of the grain in here. I really like this spalting, but I really like this compression figuring up here. So I don't really know where the tray is going to be set just yet. I'm going to keep pondering on that. Now we've run into a little bit of an issue at this point because its final thickness needs to be an inch to account for the depth of the tray, but at this point it's actually only 7/8 of an inch thick. So we need to actually add an eighth or more back to the thickness of this. So I'm going to take this skinny piece of black walnut and actually laminate it to the piece of maple to get my thickness back. And that way when the CNC machine cuts through this, it's going to end up leaving a black walnut rim around the tray. And then the spalted maple is going to be exposed through the bottom of the walnut. So that'll add our thickness back in addition to adding a decorative touch to the whole piece. I ran the maple and walnut sheets through my drum sander quickly, just to make sure that there was no tear out in between them when I glue them together. So I'm about ready to glue the two pieces of wood together, and I realize I have a decision to make. Obviously, this side of the maple is a lot more interesting than this side. So this is the side you want to have up to be able to see all the time. But when you imagine a router bit cutting into this and then hogging out a big chunk of it, you realize that this isn't exactly what you're going to see once it plunges through and starts cutting out. And when you look at the back, none of that spalting really came through to the back side. So what I'm trying to say is this spalting stops somewhere inside the thickness of this piece of wood. Now since this tray is only going to end up being about 1/4 inch thick at the bottom, I am going to hedge my bets and say that I want to cut through this side, and as that's happening, that spalting will actually get more exposed and come through this side. After the glue dried, I ran one edge over the joiner to make sure both pieces were flush. Then I ripped the other edge on the table saw and squared off both ends using my crosscut sled. Well, there we have the finished piece cut down to a little bit oversized of what he requested. The final size is going to be something like 9.5 by 6.5. I went with 9 by 7 so that we have a little bit of extra room to work with if on his end he might need that. So anyway, it's time to take this, and this is the block of walnut that'll end up being the inlay for my logo into this maple. And I need to just put them in a box and send them off to Anthony. Then we'll see his part of the process and see how his CNC machine works. So I'm excited to see what he does and what the final result's going to be. Now, since I don't know exactly what Anthony is doing here on the computer, I'll just assume he's using some sort of sorcery to create tool paths for the machine to follow. After a quickie animation and some creative shading, you can see what my logo looks like as a reversed, three-dimensional puzzle piece. Here the tool is finding the height of the workpiece. It works by running a current through that piece of metal which is a known thickness. And when the tool just barely touches it, the computer knows exactly where the top surface of the board is. Now it's time to sit back and just let the computer do all the work. I want to give a huge thanks to Anthony for building this for me, and for helping that little CNC bug dig its way even deeper under my skin. You should definitely go check out Anthony's Instagram account because he's just killing it over there. And if you have any interest in getting something like this for yourself, go check out his Etsy page because he lists lots of stuff like this for sale over there. I'll leave a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.